Jay, welcome to London Megatrends.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
And welcome to all of you in the room as well. This is our final session of the afternoon. For those that don't know me, I'm Gordon Smith. I'm the Airlines editor here at Skift. And I'm excited for this one in particular because we are billing it as Ask Me Anything. Do not worry. Do not head for the fire escape. We're not going to be getting into the weeds of the global airline industry over the next 25 minutes or so. If anyone does want to do that, you can find me at the bar later. I'll gladly have that conversation with you. But we're joined by someone far more interesting, Jay from Google. We're all very used to asking Google. We literally have the opportunity now to ask Google in the room. Things are a little different, though. We're not going to be using a search bar. We're going to be using Slido. That's the tech that we've been using all afternoon. So if you have any questions, now is the time. Don't wait until the end. We're going to be picking the best as our conversation develops. But yes, you might be wondering, where to begin, because there will be people in this room who are a little worried, perhaps. Search in itself can seem like the dark arts. Throw AI into search, and it seems really, really quite complicated. But let's just have a step back. You are working day in, day out with travel organizations, mainly in the UK, but also slightly further afield. Without slipping into product demonstration territory, what do people in this room need to know about the single biggest shift, Jay?
Wow, that could go in a lot of directions. The single biggest shift, I would say, AI is giving search superpowers. That is what I would say. The first big shift was the internet. The second one was mobile, and AI is now our third big shift, and I'd say that's what's giving search superpowers.
Flesh out a little bit for us. Superpowers, they can be used for good and bad. Tell us what you're up to there.
Well, we're seeing this change in consumer behaviors. I'm sure everyone's used an LLM and probably used AI overviews and AI mode. So what we're starting to see is that the way people are searching is shifting, it's changing. In the old days, you'd be searching with a keyword. So let's say I wanted to go to Nashville. I would break out that search. I'd say things to do in Nashville would be one search. Then I'd say, what's the weather in Nashville, or weather Nashville? Then flights Nashville and restaurants Nashville. I'd do all these series of different kind of searches. Whereas now, people are coming into Google going, I'm going to Nashville. I want to know things to do. I'm going with my friends. I like things off the beaten track. I'm a bit of a foodie and I like my music. And they expect an answer. And what we do, we fan out that query because there's no one right answer in that query, right? There's so many different elements going on. And then we bring the information back together in a cohesive way for that person.
Slido's already getting pretty busy, so I'm trying to keep this introduction short. I don't want to have an Ask Me Anything when it's just me and you having a chat. But there are a couple of sort of scene-setting questions that I want to just have as our foundation here. Talk us through the difference between keywords and intent, because it's a really important topic. You touched on it briefly there. That sort of traditional search of all-inclusive holidays, Turkey, which we might have traditionally looked at, it's a lot more conversational now. It's a lot more contextualized. How is this a challenge for the traditional travel company who might have just thrown a load of money at paid ads linked to a particular keyword? How are travel companies having to get more sophisticated to counter this new way of searching and also the discovery of the results?
Yeah, so those queries that I'm talking about, like the Nashville example, we're seeing those queries are 2 to 3 times longer than what we see in normal Google search. So you can't, in the old ways, bid on a keyword because, like I said, there's no one right answer. It's the restaurant, there's the things to do, there's like the music element. What do you even bid on? So you have to rely on the AI to decide on what is the intent of that user query to then surface the right information. We have paid advertising products that help you do that, which is using AI to look at the intent. And then we've also got, obviously, the organic results as well that come up as part of that.
We were speaking in the green room before we jumped upstairs, and there was this idea around people will use the LLMs, either your own or others, but they'll still come back to original Google in order to verify it. What do you mean? What is the data telling you there?
So we see that regular users of LLM, 94% of them still also use Google. And I think people are doing their research. If I look at my own journey, I'll do that research on an LLM, and then I'll go back into normal Google, one, to verify what I've looked at, but also when I'm ready to convert. So I might do some of my research in that AI overview space and AI mode space. When I want to book my travel, I'll go, right, Land of Legends Turkey. I've got young children. And so Land of Legends Turkey, I book that into Google and I look for where I can get the best deal rather than going through an LLM for that.
And do you think that's for reassurance purposes, and that's just a bit of due diligence for a big ticket item? Maybe as LLMs get frankly smarter and more trustworthy, will we see that reliance on original Google being watered down a little?
I don't think it's being watered down. I think the shift, and we've got the data behind this. If I look at the shift in our industry clicks of how people used to search and what they're now using Google for, we're seeing quite a decline in industry clicks on those more generic type keywords like all-inclusive holiday, but we're seeing a massive double-digit increase in things like hotel names. So it just shows that that research is happening there, all of that pain and is being made a lot easier of how do I plan my holiday, and then as soon as I know I want to convert, that's when I come into normal Google, and that's where I want to go to my trusted site.
One last one from me before we hand it over to the AMA. We were discussing the concept of a swim-up bar. Sounds attractive, something that you might have in text traditionally if you're describing a hotel. AI can now read video, so to speak. Talk us through why the travel leaders in this room and their marketing teams and other colleagues need to be thinking about not just what the text says, but also what all of the multimodal visual assets say as well.
I mean, it's one of the questions I always get asked by my client. Like, this is great, this is all really exciting, but how do I show up? How do I get there? And the advice is the same. Think about what your customers want. What are they searching for, and create the right content around that. The only difference is now it's multimodal. So what I mean by that is images, videos, and not just text, and making all of your content discoverable. So in the example we were talking about, let's just say I wanted a swim-up bar as part of the hotel.
Who doesn't?
Exactly. And you might not have that in the hotel description, but if you've got an image or a video of the swim-up bar, the AI can read that and basically know that that hotel has got a swim-up bar. So thinking about your data from a structured perspective, which we had on that slide earlier, which was great to see, but also from an unstructured perspective. Structured data being things that you've got in your feed, things that you've got on your site, and then unstructured data, things like reviews and articles around the experience or the hotel or whatever package that you're selling.
So just to be really clear here, Jay, it's not one or the other. It's not text or video. Ideally, a really strong performing website would have both.
Exactly.
Got it. All right, as promised, let's jump across to Slido because there's some really interesting questions coming in. A few on themes that we've already touched on, but let's develop those further, Jay. What is something most travel or hospitality brands are getting wrong when it comes to, we saw Sarah earlier discuss this term, GEO or AEO. Any pitfalls?
What are they getting wrong? I think not moving fast enough because they're trying to find the perfect answer. So don't let perfect get in the way of good. Just launch and iterate. You don't need to have it absolutely nailed. The only way that you're going to learn is getting out there, testing, getting the data, and then evolving what you've got. But a lot of people there are going, I need the perfect answer. I need my AI strategy. It's like, just start moving and you'll get those learnings.
Because you acknowledge things are just moving so quickly just
exactly.
Now. Even you guys.
And if you try and get that, if I think about even where Google is today, right? And if you think about where we got news and maps and the knowledge, if we had tried to launch Google as it is today, we'd just never have launched. So you've got to launch and iterate as we have done with our own products.
Another great one here. Thoughts on ads in AI now? How can we trust AI to give us personalized responses if advertising is setting the funding agenda? We've obviously had some developments from ChatGPT around the ad space in recent days, but from a Google perspective or more general perspective, ads in AI?
Yes, so we have got a solution called AI Max, where when I was talking about before, where it's getting a lot more difficult to bid on a certain keyword, AI Max takes that out of the equation. So it will look at the content you've got on your site, look at what the intent of the user is, match it up, create the ad for you, and make sure that they arrive on the right landing page. Behind the scenes, you set your ROI target or your CPA target, and it will optimize away in the background to basically deliver on that. So whatever you set as your target, that's what it's going to learn from, and that's the volume that you're going to get as a result.
And it's fair to say, as we've seen with earlier iterations of technology, there may be regional differences behind what you do and how you do it from an advertising point of view.
In terms of ads, yes, so AI Max is a product that's available today, and we also see that people in Google search, normal Google search, are typing in those longer queries. So to show up for those, I would implement AI Max straight away. And then I think what you're referring to is ads in AI mode. So that is launched in the US and some other English-speaking countries. It hasn't been launched in UK or in Europe yet, and we're still learning to see how that evolves. But yes, we are testing that in the US.
It's kind of reassuring to know that even Google is learning as we go.
Absolutely, yeah.
The brave new world. Another one here. What are the likely scenarios for revenue and business models you see potentially playing out as Gen AI tools grow in popularity as a travel discovery tool? What do you make of that?
There's a lot in that question, isn't
There
it?
is.
So where is that one? What are the likely scenarios for revenue business models?
Everyone wants revenue. Gen AI, where did the two come to a head?
So we have always run an auction-based system in search, and I think that will continue to happen. Ultimately, the goal is to deliver value for our merchants, for our partners. So by putting in your CPA target, putting in your ROI target, giving us the right data to optimize towards that, that is going to set the commercials for you. So as long as it delivers on the targets that you're setting, I don't think that model is not going to be changing in how we deliver the advertising. And that's what we're running with AI Mode in the US. That's what the ones with AI Max in the UK, and obviously your normal search activity as well.
Interesting one here. How does Google think about what is the best result for the customer? Is it the airline or the hotel direct or an OTA, for example, or are you ultimately looking at what the user is looking for as well?
Yeah, I guess from an ads perspective, we are constantly optimizing your performance, right? So if we see that certain users are coming to your site and converting, we will optimize more towards those people. And we look at hundreds of different signals: the time that they search, the device that they're on, the location that they are, their previous search history, what websites they've been to. So all of that, so many different variables that a human brain couldn't actually compute how to make those predictions. That's what the AI does to make sure that we're serving the right traffic. And then the people who are not converting, obviously you're going to get less of those people coming to your site.
That question was referring to sort of flights, hotels, OTAs. Everyone in this room doesn't need to be told. Travel is sometimes sort of homogenized as a sector, lumped together, but it's very, very different. Flights are a much more structured search, day to day. Experiences, holidays, they're much messier, they're much more emotional, they take a lot more research. Do you think flight search is less exposed, less prone to this new era of AI search that we're looking into?
I think it's an expansionary moment, really. So if I think about how AI can help on flight search, beforehand, you're just going to put in your date and your destination. Whereas now I can search for, I want to go somewhere where they've got great Christmas markets. So the AI will look at which countries and where should I go as a destination for Christmas market, but then you've got the feed-based information from the flight search to then match that up. So I think the two will marry up together to make that a more engaging experience to answer the questions that you really want, so that you're not having to research away on all the other topics.
But there is still a little less emotion involved in picking a flight because it's very much more about the destination, unless you're in the pointy end of the aircraft, perhaps.
Yes, exactly.
The journey is part of the fun there. Let's take another one from the audience. How does marketing work when search is happening not on web browsers, but directly on social media apps like TikTok, and the search results are video, not text? We touched on that a little earlier. But when so much of what we're viewing is not necessarily on a traditional web page, how are you navigating that?
So in terms of advertising is this about YouTube on the video side?
I would interpret it as you will, or whoever's asked that question, feel free to chime in. But I think it's more general. When we're not looking at traditional web pages, when maybe someone has been watching something on social media and then they're coming into the LLM world and then the Google world, how does that sort of funnel develop, and how do you, as an organization, react to that changing funnel?
I think we'll always have multiple touches across the consumer journey, right? There's not going to be one place that you go to. So if I think about my own journey, I'll be on YouTube watching videos of different experiences, different destinations, different hotels and things to do. Then I'll be doing some research on Gemini as my LLM. Then I might go into AI mode and AI overviews to go a bit deeper. And then I might finally convert on Google search. But there will always be multiple touch points. So I think here measurement is one of the big focus areas for a lot of the conversations I'm having with our clients around how do you measure the performance of each of your individual channels. And then they're doing a lot of things like multimedia modeling and multi-mix modeling to get those values.
Anyone that's read our mega trends, which I hope is most of the room by now, knows sustainability is a big focus this year. An interesting one here. How do you promote discovery while preventing mass tourism and directing guests to businesses that genuinely care about their craft instead of the big chains? There is the temptation there, as Sarah was alluding. You sometimes only get 3 results now with some LLMs, whereas previously you get screeds and screeds. Is there an ethical balance and ethical consideration in terms of the results that are delivered?
Our guiding principle would be what is most useful to the user query.
Sure.
So we would be doing lots of tests in the background to see what are we surfacing that is answering that query. Our mission stays the same, and that is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and that is in the same in everything that we do. So depending on that query, what's coming in, we will surface the most relevant answers. So I sometimes get asked, why in AI mode don't I appear? It's like, well, if you look at what the customer's searching for, someone's written a blog about that destination, about this rock festival that serves great Japanese food or whatever. They've got the content. That's what we're going to serve to the user because that directly answers it. So it actually opens it up to a much broader range of websites. And we actually see that people who use AI overviews in AI mode, they visit a greater diversity of websites after going through that experience.
This isn't one from Slido, but it was discussed in the gallery before we came on. Is there still a place for reviews? I don't know about you, but I don't go to a restaurant if it's not 4.5 and above on Google. Is there still a place in this new world for the traditional Google review?
Totally. I mean, so if I think about your businesses, my advice is that you need structured data and unstructured data. So we talked about the structured data, which might be in the feeds. It might have your hotel information. It might have all the different things you can do, something that's easily accessible via an API that an AI can read. Then you've got your unstructured data, which could be things like reviews. So let's just say on my anniversary, I want to take my wife away and I'm looking for a romantic hotel. And so with great Japanese food. So the structured data would tell me it's a 5-star hotel. It would tell me that there's this kind of restaurant, but the romantic part would actually come from your unstructured data, which would come from the reviews. It would tell me about the ambience in the hotel, whether it's candlelit dinners and what people are saying about the experience there. So it's marrying the two together. So yes, reviews are absolutely still important.
Questions are still coming in. We're not going to get to all of them, I'm afraid, but up for a few quick-fire ones if you are, Jay. This one asks, AI doesn't incentivize publishers to create content due to 0 clicks. What's the long-term view of getting AI? What's the long-term view of AI getting data, content, and the relationship with publishers? So that sort of age-old tension between AI search and publishers. How do you navigate that?
So this whole concept of 0 clicks, I would reframe it as there's a shift of where people are clicking through. As I described earlier, that kind of research is happening more in the LLMs, but then when they're ready to convert those commercial terms, that's when people are driving off to the website. So I'd say, we have like 5 trillion searches every single year, and 15% of them are new searches. So it really shows how human curiosity is just like boundless. People want good answers and they want to engage in this. So I would say that creating the content for what your customers or what your readers want, that still remains key, but that is evolving.
A couple of final quickies. What is Google doing about fake news or stays within search?
We have a lot of processes, both manual and automated, to make sure that we have quality content and that we are giving our users the best results.
All right. And here again, not avoiding the thorny topics at Skift. Corporate managed travel, it's big and growing. Google has avoided it because it's hard. With AI, will that change? Will you buy a TMC?
No.
So much more we could discuss, but I'm delighted to say that we've got the reception just shortly after this. So I'm sure, Jay, you may be around to answer any further questions. But thanks again for joining us and being so candid.
Thank you.